Now, we'll be moving on to social media. Here's some cartoons to lighten up the mood. Okay, now let's go over some of these social media platforms that we are most familiar with, like MySpace. MySpace was launched in August of 2003 and is currently only 13 years old. Facebook was launched in February 2004 and is now 12 years old. Twitter launched in March of 2006 and is 10 years old. Instagram launched in October 2010 and is 6 years old. And Snapchat. Snapchat launched in September of 2011 and is only 5 years old. While these are the social media platforms we are most familiar with, social media has been happening since the 70s. The first actual social media website was introduced in 1997. Yet, as time continues to move forward, we are using platforms that allow followers to get more personal views of our daily lives. This is where it falls on the account holder to be responsible of what they are sharing with the world. Let's get into those responsibilities and what it means to have a social media account when looking for a job or applying to schools. You may not necessarily realize it, but your social media account is your personal brand. You are representing yourself with every single post, comment, and share. That can be quite intimidating to think about, as we all have done things on social media without thinking of the repercussions. But that's the purpose of this course, to make you aware of how to use social media responsibly. To help curtail what your followers see you do on social media, you can hide or disable certain features that platforms offer. Most times, it is really hard to hide everything from people, so you must be aware of what you're posting and who can see it. Another way to secure your account further is if you become selective on who you become friends with or allow to follow you. You do not need to accept people you do not personally know, and even if you do know someone, it doesn't mean that you need to have them on your social media account. Just be aware of who you're sharing parts of your life with. Altering your privacy settings to make things private rather than public can help keep people you aren't friends with, like your boss, coworkers, professors, classmates, from seeing what you post. Unfortunately, a simple search of your name, email, or phone number can yield your social media account in search results. Since we just talked about email, this is where you need to be conscious of what email you use to set up your accounts. If you have a private social media account you do not want your employer to find, it may not be a good idea to provide the employer with the same email address so they cannot easily search for your account. Perhaps you may even use a pseudonym or a nickname for the name you provide that social media network with, so only your personal friends know it's your account. Here's a quick note. It is not illegal for an employer to judge you based on your social media account. However, it is illegal if you are discriminated against. For example, your cover photo may be religious, and if your employer says, "You will not be hired because you are a follower of the Rainy religion," that is discrimination and you should report it. If you have all of your postings private, do not forget about your pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, and sometimes we aren't captured in our best moments. Sometimes we may even post risque photos of ourselves without thinking about what just one post can do, pictures or words. In order to be responsible, you must truly evaluate the picture you're posting. Would my mom approve of this? Does this photo send a bad message about me? What would my boss think? You can also ask your friends not to take a picture of you at a specific event or engaging in a specific activity, or if you don't mind your friend having a picture of you in a compromising moment but don't want others to see it, simply ask that it may not be posted. If there's a photo you don't mind being posted but do not want to appear on your page, you can ask not to be tagged or remove the tag yourself. This also goes for locations too. Not only to keep your location private from strangers, but if you frequent a dance club every weekend, you may not want your employer to know what your behaviors are outside of work. There's nothing wrong with going to a dance club every weekend, but you just may not want your employer to know that information. This is an example of checking in when maybe you shouldn't. And this goes to show just how anybody can post a photo of you and tag you and pretty much disclose what you're doing to the rest of your followers. Lastly, let's brush up on cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is bullying that occurs over an electronic platform. Examples of cyberbullying include mean text messages or emails, rumors sent by email or posted on social networking sites, and embarrassing pictures, videos, websites, or fake profiles. This definition can be found at www.stopbullying.gov. Cyberbullying is a growing problem that people find themselves either a victim of or perpetuating the act upon others. For this course, it is important to be aware of what cyberbullying actually is so that you may not participate and you can potentially help stop the bullying by speaking out against it. Let's watch a short film on cyberbullying and the effects that it has had on the victim.
I thought, great, that chapter of my life is over. But a few days later, I logged back onto Reddit and the picture was back up on the front page again. Another Reddit user took the photo and turned it into a meme with a caption that said, "You're not a real hipster until you take your typewriter to the park." The meme was shared and tweeted and Facebooked and pinned and just thrown online thousands and thousands of times, all within hours. I was so surprised and just disappointed. It was almost like a resignation, like, well, I will never have control of my life again. And then the comments on the meme got worse. They were more violent. They actually wanted to hurt me for what I was doing. When I see him, I'm going to smash the typewriter over his head. I have never wanted to fistfight somebody so badly in my entire life. I bet 90% of his high school did too. It's because of these guys that bullying is so hard to stop. That last comment it ends up sort of haunting me. I've just been bullied my whole life, and that comment and comments like it just brought back these memories of being scared to go to school and being scared to go home from school. It was like an echo of the times that people told me that they were gonna pull a knife on me in high school, of actually having to change my routes home from school because people would follow me and try to attack me. It's just a horrifying thought, and I felt like the way that I am causes people to hate me. Reading all of these comments made my heart hurt.
Of course you feel protective, and there's nothing you can do because it's out there. And you feel powerless and really indignant.
If someone is actually threatening you, especially online, it's hard to take those seriously. But it only takes one person to actually act on their threat So it was scary to think that these strangers were not just gonna come and ask for a story. They were gonna come and take my typewriter from my lap and smash it over my head.
Okay, so that was an example of how somebody posted a picture of an individual online, and basically there was jokes made about him, and as we've seen, some pretty mean comments, and the effects on him were that he was afraid. It took him back to a bad point in his life when he was bullied throughout growing up. So be conscious of, even if it's just a joke, just be conscious of what that could mean to somebody else and the person in the photograph. Now, let's watch some videos on this young woman. She took a job, and it was posted on the internet. We'll learn about the details, and we can talk a little bit about it after.
I posted on my Facebook wall, I don't know what to say. I couldn't understand why the filmmakers wouldn't come forward and say that it was just supposed to be a joke. About 20 minutes after I made that post on Facebook, one of the producers texted me, "It's a good thing we got video releases from the guys, so now they can't sue us." When I read that text, my heart sank. That's when it clicked in my head that he knew all along that that's how the video would be perceived. I realized how it hurt these guys, and I felt horrible.
If you wanted to maybe hang out and go back to my spot.
Initially, I was angry. They, really lied to me, about what they were going to do with it and put my life in danger. They didn't ever tell me that they were going to try to make people believe it was real.
All I wanted to do was make a Facebook post that said, "It's fake," but my agents insisted I keep quiet. They were trying to protect me, but it didn't help. It just made it worse. Because I didn't say anything about it, people think that obviously I must have done it on purpose.
It's also very believable, which is part of the problem. It really strikes a chord. And then, of course, the first thing you want to do is tell somebody about it. So you put it on Twitter, you ping it to somebody on GChat. But 2 days later, we found out that the video was staged. One of the actors in the video, one of the men who appears in the video, wrote a Facebook post refuting the authenticity of the whole thing.
The video that has men in it that's going around the web was all staged, and all of the people in it were acting. I gave them verbal consent on camera, but thought it was supposed to be a funny skit. My life. Finally, people understood that the video had been staged.
This video of the drunk girl is just sort of a lie.
They wanted notoriety, they wanted views, they didn't care anything about a social experience. They wanted
we complain about the impact of social media and people being online just to be famous, just to get seen.
I was relieved that the truth had finally come out. I thought it was over. But the backlash was immediate. People were pissed off that they had been duped. They were looking for someone to blame. They wanted a scapegoat, and my face was on it. The verbal abuse, the threats, all the stress of what was happening to me, I started smoking. I was having a cigarette outside one day and I felt a pain in my chest. I thought I was having a heart attack. In the hospital, I had to have chest tubes, lung surgery. It's called a spontaneous pneumothorax. After the lung surgery, I got pneumonia in that same lung. I can't explain the pain. Every breath that I took was the most painful moment of my life. All because of a video.
People who are victims of cyber harassment report feelings of anxiety, depression, are diagnosed with PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Stress can also lead to heart failure and to heart attacks. So a pile-on effect of harassment leads to all sorts of negative psychological, emotional, and physical effects.
I spent Thanksgiving in the hospital. It was overwhelming. I had no idea that this random job that I did could do so much damage. When I got out of the hospital, I was afraid to go outside. I stayed in my house for a long time. I was just sleeping a lot. I was terrified of people recognizing me. I struggled to find acting work. I would go into castings and get dirty looks from people like I'm this evil person. I worked so hard for so long, all to have some dumb put this video together and ruin my career. The only way for me to regain my sanity and get my life back was to move back to Texas.
I don't think she wanted to be famous. Once she realized what it meant, she kind of just wanted to fade back into obscurity, and so she came home.
I definitely regret making the video. I would never have signed up for this if I knew that this video was going to be what it was. If the internet didn't exist, this never would have happened. Anytime that I try to go look for a job, then the first thing when they Google me, drunk girl in public. The two words that I hate most in the world are drunk girl. I worked my ass off for 8 years to get to where I was.
I'm Jennifer.
And for this suddenly to happen and just ruin everything.
In her case, it was a production company that scammed the actors into doing a social experiment and misrepresented it online. I feel that this video was important to show you so that you become aware of the power of the internet. You can post something in good faith, and the internet can easily and quickly misconstrue your intent. Keep in mind what you post, and as a rule of thumb, always ask yourself, would my mom approve of this? That wraps up the email and social media portion of the Digital Literacy Condor course. Thank you.